Welcome! Today we're going to tackle a pretty wild idea. What if the key to solving some of today's biggest, most complex business problems lies in learning to see the world like a 500-year-old artist? Yeah, seriously, it all comes down to challenging what we think we see. All right, so let's jump right in with this quote from systems thinker Fred Kofman. He says, "We don't talk about what we see only what we can talk about." Think about that for a second. What he's getting at is that our language, the words we use, can actually act like blinders, In business, for example, if we're only talking about profit and loss, we might be completely blind to the stuff that's really driving those numbers, like the company's culture or how people communicate. It's like, if you don't have a word for it, you can't even see it's there. And that brings us to this really fascinating question. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? How on earth could an artist from the Renaissance, the guy who painted the Mona Lisa, have anything useful to say about saving a modern, failing bank? Well, the answer, it turns out, is all about learning a different way of seeing. Okay, so to get to that answer, we've got to go back in time. We're going to deconstruct the myth around one of history's greatest minds, Leonardo da Vinci. Now, most of us just think of him as an artist, but trust me, he was so much more than that. And what's so wild about Leonardo is that he wasn't born into some elite genius family. Not at all. He had really humble beginnings, hardly any formal schooling, but he became this incredible polymath. I mean, inventor, engineer, and artist. He was a master at seeing how everything was connected, how human anatomy was like a machine, or how nature could inspire a new invention. His genius wasn't some magic gift from the heavens. He built it himself through just relentless, passionate curiosity and really paying attention.
And this is the absolute key takeaway. You see, there's this myth that paints Leonardo as some kind of superhuman, touched by lightning, this divine genius. But the reality? The reality is way more inspiring. His genius was 100% human. It was built on his own will, his ambition. And it came from skills that, honestly, any of us can work on. That intense curiosity and the simple, powerful drive to just look closer.
Okay, so let's take that idea, that Leonardo lens, that ability to spot the hidden connections, and bring it back to the present day. We're going to apply it to a real crisis and see how this way of thinking can completely change how we understand a modern problem. So, let me introduce you to the Mugomo Tree Bank. These guys were once the leaders, the top of the food chain, but now they're in trouble. They're bleeding money, and they're just getting crushed in a market with almost 40 other banks. To even begin to understand what's going wrong, we have to make a shift. We have to stop seeing it as just a company and start seeing it for what it is, a really complex system, a whole web of customers, staff, technology, and money, all tangled together. Now, the traditional way to tackle a problem like this might be to pull out a classic business framework, something like the McKinsey 7S model you see here. You look at all the different pieces of the puzzle separately: strategy, structure, staff, culture, and so on. And the thinking is, hey, all these parts have to work together. If one is off, the whole thing goes down. But this is exactly where we need to put on our Leonardo glasses. Because if you only look at those separate, visible parts, you're going to miss the most important thing. What really makes the system tick or fail are the invisible interconnections. It's the relationships between those parts. It's how information flows or doesn't flow. It's how work actually gets done, not how the org chart says it should get done. And this Carl Jung quote just hits the nail on the head. You are what you do, not what you say you will do. A bank can have the most beautiful mission statement in the world, right? But its real purpose, its true function, is revealed by its actions. You have to watch what the system actually does day to day to understand what it's really all about. So, if you want to fix a complex system like this, where do you even start? You can't just tinker with one little part and hope the whole thing gets better. No, you have to know where to apply pressure. You need to find the right levers to pull, the levers of change. The whole secret is knowing exactly where to push to get the biggest bang for your buck. But here's the crazy part. The most effective, most powerful levers, they're almost never the obvious ones. So what we're going to do is explore these levers, and we're going to do it in reverse order. We'll start with the least powerful and build our way up to the absolute game changer. Okay, so let's start our countdown at the very bottom, with the levers that businesses love to focus on, but that actually have the least impact. Coming in at number 10, we've got numbers. Tweaking things like financial ratios or capital reserves. At number 9, buffers, like the size of assets on a balance sheet.
Up a notch at 8 is the physical systems, the actual IT hardware, the buildings. And at 7, the delays built into the system. It's super tempting to mess with these things because they're easy to measure, but honestly, they don't change the game much.
All right, now things are getting interesting. As we start climbing higher, the levers get way more powerful. At number 6, we hit feedback loops. This is all about how fast the system gets information on how it's doing. Better, faster feedback means better control. Then, at number 5, you've got information flows. This is about who knows what when. Seriously, just changing who gets a certain report can totally change how people behave. At number 4, we have the rules of the game, the incentives, the constraints, and then at 3, the system's own incredible power to self-organize and adapt on its own. Now we're talking about some serious leverage. Okay, we are almost at the top. The second most powerful lever you can pull, that's the goals of the system itself. We're talking about changing the fundamental purpose of what the bank is even trying to do. That is huge. But what's number 1? What is the single most powerful, the ultimate high-impact lever for creating real, lasting change? It's this. The ultimate lever is the power to shift the entire mindset of the organization. It's the power of a paradigm shift.
So what on earth is a paradigm shift? Well, think of it like this. It's a deep, fundamental change in the unstated assumptions that everyone in the system just takes for granted. It's the shared story, the collective belief about how things work around here. And when you can actually shift that core mindset, something amazing happens. Everything else, the goals, the rules, the entire structure, it all starts to change almost by itself. It's the source code of the entire system.
But here's the tricky part, the real challenge. The deepest, most powerful beliefs in any company or any system, they're the ones nobody ever talks about. Why not? Because they don't have to. Everyone just assumes they're true. They're just the way things are. And because of that, they are completely invisible, just like those hidden interconnections we were talking about before. So when you boil it all down, seeing like Leonardo isn't just about looking at things closely. It's about having the guts and the curiosity to question the very invisible assumptions that shape our world. And that leaves us with one final big question for you. Think about your own work, your team, maybe even your own life. What is that one great unstated assumption that everyone just accepts as fact that maybe, just maybe, you could be the one to challenge?